So you're thinking about making a move to Houston, Texas? Well, hold on now. It ain't all butterflies and rainbows down here in Houston. There are a few things that you need to consider before you make that commitment, especially if you're coming from states like California, New York, Washington, or Illinois. It can be quite different, or it can be quite the culture shock whenever you get down here. After watching this video, you will know every negative and downside that there is living in Houston, Texas, and you will be well equipped and prepared with the information that you need in order to make that commitment to move to Houston, Texas, or not. And we're gonna get after it right now. Hey, if this is your first time visiting my channel, first of all, thank you so much for being here. We cover the entire greater Houston area from suburb to suburb, city to city, so you can know exactly what to expect whenever moving and relocating down here to the Houston, Texas region. And if that is the kind of content that you are looking for, hit that subscribe button down below and tap the bell icon so you can be the first to stay up to date with the current market here in Houston, Texas. My name is Andrew Lake. I'm with the Life in Houston Realty team, and we get calls and text messages from people just like yourself all of the time wanting to relocate down here to the Houston, Texas area. So whether you are 9 days out or 9 months out, it does not matter. Feel free to give us a call. I will leave all of my information in the description box down below, and we would be delighted and honored to help you make a smooth transition to Houston, Texas. Now let's get back to the video. So the first thing that you definitely need to know about is the weather. It just truly sucks. We have 2 seasons here in Houston. We have summer, and then we have scorched earth fire and heat summoned from the depths of hell summer. And the humidity in Houston is just not for the weak. It truly is awful, and it intensifies everything. All jokes aside, we do typically have mild winters down here in Houston, and it's really not all that bad. Just don't count on any snow. That doesn't happen here. And when it gets cold, it's a different type of cold here than most of you northerners might be used to. It's a wet, bone-chilling type of cold. And we do occasionally get hard freezes, and you'll need to wrap your pipes and to prevent them from bursting. Now, if that's not enough to keep you from moving to Houston, Texas, let's keep going. Next, you need to know that you stand a chance at getting eaten alive by swarms of mosquitoes in the spring and summer months. When it rains in the summertime, just don't even go outside the next day. Make sure you stock up on all types of bug spray before the summertimes come rolling around. Also, around the spring and summertime, you're gonna come across something that I like to call idiot bugs, also known as June bugs. And I'll let you figure that one out whenever you get down here in Houston, but they don't stay around too long, so don't worry too much about it. So next up, we have property taxes. Now, what I'm about to tell you might sound a little bit confusing to some of you who aren't familiar with Texas property tax codes, but this is definitely something that you need to watch out for whenever purchasing a home down here in the Houston, Texas region. So the best way I can describe this to you is that each neighborhood or each subdivision could, in fact, have a different tax rate. For example, one neighborhood could have a 2% tax rate, and a neighborhood directly across the street from it could have a 3.9% tax rate. Crazy, I know. And that all has to do with how the developer created or developed the property in the first place. They could have put it in what's called a MUD district, which is a municipal utility district, or a PID, which is a public improvement district. Both of those taxes levied will make an impact on how much property taxes that you have to pay every single year. Thus, in turn, will have an impact on how much you're paying on your mortgage payments. So make sure you're paying attention to the property tax rates for whatever neighborhood that you choose to live in. I will say though, when it comes to taxes, we don't have any state income tax here in Texas, which is also a plus. Some of you coming from the northern states or might have your own state income tax that you have to pay into based off of the income that you make. Depending on the value of the home that you end up purchasing, it could actually end up being a wash because we don't have state income tax, but our property taxes are higher. And in addition to property taxes, we also have no corporation tax, which is why so many businesses from across the country are relocating down here to Texas, which has also contributed to a thriving economy here in Texas. And the next thing that you need to know is all about the allergies here in Houston, Texas. Now, in the fall time, we typically have a weed pollen such as ragweed that can trigger some allergic reactions. And in the springtime, we also have pollen from, let's say, oak, ash or elm or pecan trees. Typically, those are the main causes of any kind of allergies that you may experience here in Houston, Texas. Now, this next one may not necessarily be a con to some of you, but it's something that you guys coming from out of state may not be used to. And that is that Texas has deregulated utilities. Here in the Houston region, your main utility providers are either going to be CenterPoint Energy or Texas New Mexico Power. However, you can't buy it direct, or you can buy gas from them, but you you cannot buy electricity from them. You have to go to a third-party seller in order to purchase the electricity. Now, I will say there are hundreds of providers to choose from, and what provider you end up choosing ultimately is up to you on the best deal that you can find. So if you're trying to save a few kilowatt per hour, if you're trying to save on weekends, or if you use less power during certain time frames throughout the day, there's tons of different options out there for you to choose from. And I'll also tell you that our clients get a free concierge, free utility concierge that will have everything, and they'll get you squared away and they'll get you all hooked up before you even move into the property. And that's all done complimentary service to all of our clients. Okay, so this next one on the list is all about the size of Houston, Texas. Now, Houston is absolutely ginormous. It is gigantic. There's a common joke or a common theme that we have around here in Houston, and that is Houston is literally an hour away from Houston. And just for your reference, we call everything around Houston, Houston. So whether it's Sugar Land or the Woodlands or Baytown or League City or Friendswood or Pearland or whatever it is, when we're referring to Houston, we're really referring to all of that combined. So it's Houston proper, and then the greater Houston area is what we refer to as Houston. Houston is so ginormous, it's actually not uncommon for people to drive 50 miles to get to a destination. For example, if you are traveling from, let's say, west side to east side, let's say you're coming from Katy, Texas, and you need to go to Baytown, Texas for whatever reason, that could take you a good hour drive to get there. Not only you have to cross through 99 and you have to cross through Beltway and then 610, which is the inner loop of Houston, and then you got to do the same thing on the east side to get to Baytown. It's just a hot mess, and traffic sucks, which we're going to talk about that here in just a second. But it's not uncommon for someone to drive 50 miles. Let's say if you have a client that you need to meet, let's say you're coming from League City, Texas, and you need to drive to the Woodlands, Texas. That's a good solid hour drive and about 50 miles. So it's not uncommon for you to make those types of drives. Okay, so now let's address the elephant in the room. And that is something that you will inevitably run into with no way out. And that is the Houston traffic. I will forewarn you, it is absolutely terrible. It is god awful. I will say though, that during work hours, it's truly not that bad unless there's an accident, and there's always an accident. But if you have to commute to downtown or across town for work, I truly feel for you. It's a long, slow, and frustrating drive, so please plan accordingly and always leave early. Remember that. And people in Houston drive like animals jacked up on pre-workout and Colombian Bam Bam. Let me put it to you like this. If you're in the fast lane and you're not at least driving 100 miles per hour, get out of the fast lane immediately. Okay, so now that I've expressed my frustrations with traffic, let's move on to the next topic, which is all about hurricanes. Hurricane season here in the Houston area is from June 1st to November 30th, I believe, and the peak season being around that September 10th marker, with most activity being between August and mid-October. I will tell you this though, Houston is far enough inland to where you don't have to worry about the wind destruction like you would coastal homes or if you had a beach house, for example. The biggest inconveniences that we typically see here in the Houston region when it comes to hurricanes is power outages and finding gasoline for those portable generators. Now, if you find a house with a whole home generator, that is a must have and is super nice to actually have, and it's 1000% worth the investment if you didn't find a house that didn't have a whole home generator. Which is pretty expensive. If you have a large house, let's say 4,000 square foot and above, it's probably going to cost you around $15,000 to get one installed. But if you're looking at maybe 3,000 square foot and below, you're probably looking around maybe $7,500 for the whole installation. Trust me, it is definitely worth the investment with the power outages that we experience during hard storms and hurricanes. All right, and with hurricanes comes rainfall, and Houston is prone to flooding, unfortunately. So take Hurricane Harvey, for example. Hurricane Harvey was a hurricane recently in 2017 of biblical proportions of rainfall. This dang hurricane came in twice. So it came in originally, dumped its load on us, went back out to the Gulf, refueled, and then came back in and dumped its load on us again. Completely devastating the Houston region. That storm was definitely not typical of what we normally see when it comes to hurricanes. And most of the time, whenever it comes to flooding here in Houston, Texas, it's more localized to mild street flooding than anything. If you are concerned about potential flooding or any flooding in the past, you can always check out FEMA flood maps to see if a property is located in a flood zone. And we can also tell you if a property has ever flooded in the past as well. So most people down here in Houston, Texas, especially especially in the suburban areas and even the countryside or rural areas, are super friendly. People will wave at you on the streets as you're driving by. People will hold the door open for you as you enter a gas station or wherever it is that you're going. People are generally really nice. The Southern hospitality down here in Houston is a real thing. So depending on your personality type, this could or may not be a con. If you're looking for rolling hills and mountaintop terrains with ice caps, Houston is certainly not for you. The landscape here is super flat. That's another big con of mine. It's not really a con for most people, but for me, it's one of the biggest issues that I have with Houston. And I love going to Colorado and I love going to the Smokies in Gatlinburg. And when I get back home, I'm like, ugh, this is back to reality. Some people don't care, and that's okay. This may or may not be a con for you, but just so you understand, Houston is flat landscape. If you were on the fence about moving to Houston, Texas, I would say that it's not that bad after all. There are pros and there are cons to every city, and not one city is going to be perfect. The pros just have to outweigh the cons, and really only you can decide that for yourself. Well, hey, that's gonna wrap up today's video. I truly hope that you found value in this video, and if you did, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and tap the bell icon so you can be the first to stay up to date with the current market here in Houston, Texas. Like I said earlier, it doesn't matter if you're 9 days out or if you're 9 months out from making a move to Houston. Feel free to give us a call. I will leave all of my information in the description box down below, and we would be delighted and honored to help make your transition to Houston a smooth one. Signing off for now, until next time.